Hey.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, sorry, I had to start a new Hangout, so we're redirecting people here.
Okay.
Yeah,
The new contact.
so that's right. Yes, so let's just wait 3 more minutes, and we'll start. Just 3 more minutes. Thank you. Hey, we're good.
Oh, great.
Hey. No, hola. Hola a todos. Tuvimos un pequeño problema con el primer link, así que ojalá todos los que estén actualmente escuchando esto puedan transmitir a las personas que no pueden. El nuevo link está posteado también en el otro evento, así que disculpas por eso. Estamos tratando de hacer una prueba y aparentemente Hangouts, cuando partes una emisión y después detienes la otra, queda inhabilitado totalmente. Entonces, eso fue lo que pasó. Así que bueno, bienvenidos a todos los que están acá presentes en este nuevo Hangout con Jordan. Vamos a hablar alrededor de media hora con él, 20 minutos. Después hay una aplicación en el lado derecho, perdón, en el lado izquierdo, donde uno puede colocar preguntas. Así que también vamos a estar aceptando algunas preguntas al finalizar la charla con él. ¿Ya? Y también al final vamos a estar regalando 2 tickets para 9.5 y les comento cómo vamos a hacer eso al final también de esto. ¿Ya? Así que, pues nada, empecemos la conversación inmediatamente. Hello, Jordan. How's it going?
Going very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm anxious. I'm very nervous for next week because, as you might imagine, we have a lot of stuff to do. But we are very happy to have you here in Chile. Your first time here in Valdivia, so it's great to have you here and great to have you next week.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, sure.
Having been in Santiago numerous times at this point, but never really leaving that city, I'm interested, curious, and excited to come visit you in your city and meet everybody there, and talk at the tech conference and also play the solo concert, which is going to be a lot of.
Yeah, so for the ones that don't know about the whole schedule, we're going to be having Jordan at 9.5 on Friday. That's going to be 5:30 p.m. Chilean time. And next day, Saturday 3rd, he's going to be playing a solo concert in the city. So I want to start the conversation with you, maybe telling us like what's the latest stuff that you have been doing. I know you guys just ended the Dream Theater tour, but aside from that, like what are the other stuff that you've been doing? What have been your latest releases and all that?
Yeah, I've been very focused in the time that I'm not touring with Dream Theater, which actually this is a kind of this year a rare little break. I've been working with a team that I met actually on my trips out to Stanford University in California. And they go by the name of Mo Forte, but Wisdom Music, which is my company, and Mo Forte partnered up to create a series of apps. And the first one, which is out now, is called GeoShred.
Yeah.
And GeoShred is it's available for iOS. It's an iPad instrument. It's very exciting. It's based on a technology called physical modeling.
Yeah.
So we've been working very hard first to get that out, but now we've been working on the MIDI implementation.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, so it can communicate with the outside world, and not only just MIDI, but we're working on the most advanced kind of latest version of MIDI, which is what they call this MPE, multi-polyphonic expression. So it's able to do some really, really great things. So that's the latest project in Wisdom Music world. And a smaller project being very soon coming out with a really cool Wisdom Music metronome app, which features Jordan Rudess cartoon character, which is going to be really fun. It's a fun app, but it's also going to be really, really helpful for people to practice with, because it's very exact because it's a metronome.
Of course.
Also it has some great practice modes. So for people who are learning an instrument, there's all kinds of interesting ways, simple but really to the point, of allowing the person to practice. But it features this kind of cool looking, I'll show.
Like design and cartoons and all that.
Here's what it looks like. I'll just show you real quickly so
sure.
They can see it. So the little wizard is.
Oh yeah, it's like moving hands there. Yeah.
Right. So
that's very cool. Very cool. I'll be happy if you can maybe show that off next week at the conference. I mean, if you could just demo it for the people there, that'd be great.
I can practice to the metronome app.
Yeah, yeah, that could be a good challenge. Yeah,
I'll use it in the concert to stay steady while I'm very, very excited.
That sounds good to me. Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool that you're releasing some other stuff. I know that. I mean, we're going to be talking mostly next week about remote work. I mean, that's the whole theme of the event, right? And of course, we have different subjects that come out of that. One we're really interested in is, like, for instance, in Chile, like how laws or government laws are restricting right now remote work here in the country. Some other good subject is like, how do I have to brand myself to get the attention from other people from other countries for them to hire me and do stuff, right? And I just want to maybe talk to you a little bit about skills. And I know that you've been in contact with different developers around the world for developing this kind of apps, right? So I guess one question that comes to mind is, what is one skill that really has to be in a person when you start working with him? Like, what's the, if not the one, maybe two or three, but what do you think it's the one skill that has to be in that person?
Well, actually, the first thing that came to mind, well, not the first thing, but the most important thing that came to mind while I was thinking about it and you were asking me, is the ability to communicate. And so to be able to speak English.
Yeah.
Really, really important, because all the developers that I work with, no matter where they are, have a degree of skill speaking English. And a perfect example is like when you and I work together. We're in communication all the time. And it'd be very difficult if we didn't have that, that way to just have that in common to communicate.
Yes, and that's something that we are also encouraging people to. We're probably going to have some keynotes about that, about the importance of knowing English and the importance of not speaking perfectly English, but to communicate. Like just to have the conversation.
Exactly. So I think that's really a number one important skill to work with anybody. Like, even if it doesn't need to be somebody like me who's sitting in New York, but just for people to communicate from different countries, getting a nice common language.
For sure. So if you have like one person that speaks English, like what would be the next one in the list?
The next skill. Well, when I think about all the different people I work with around the world, what generally draws me to them is some particular kind of talent that is apparent to me just because I have my eyes open on the various spaces that I'm looking at. Like a good example of that is the iOS music space. So if there's something if there's something, even if it's very simple, that comes out on that space, if it catches my eye, then a lot of times I'll reach out to broaden my world of connectivity to see who is this, who are these people that are doing this, so I can say hello and be in touch, because I feel like that, now we have the ability to communicate with people all around the world. And so I'm very active in doing that, in reaching out. But there has to be some way for me to find that person. So obviously there's a lot of ways. My particular way to do it, which was kind of almost like a talent scout in terms of looking and seeing what people are doing. Some of the connections I've had are through the universities.
Okay.
Good example being even like the Stanford University connection. Stanford is a university that I visit every year or two, and I go show new technology. And I've made friends with a lot of the students that come out of there. So, so that connection has been really key as well. And then visiting other universities around the world too. I've met interesting people that I've maintained relationships with and done various projects with.
Okay.
So, and conventions as well.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe a good tip for me to be maybe if someone is hearing this and someone is maybe looking like when you're going to be in that university, maybe just reach out at some point. Maybe say hey, I'm I do this in the iOS world, and maybe just start talking about something, and we'll see like what leads to.
Yeah, I mean, right, and it works both ways, where I reach out to somebody because I see some talent. The other thing is people reach out to me as well, and introduce themselves either through someone else, or they find a way to directly contact me with.
For sure.
So,
cool. So I see that. How many apps have you developed so far with Wisdom Music? Like 8 or 10, something like that.
About 8 apps, I think.
Yeah. So I guess that for a person that hasn't worked in a project like with different people, they don't know like how a team is structured. Like they can be starting working alone, maybe. They can then start working with someone else, but maybe if you can share like how's been the evolution of the team that works in an app. For instance, how it started at first, like maybe you thought, oh, so I need a designer, also then I need maybe experienced designer and all that. How has that evolved over time in your experience?
Very good question. I've learned so much in my experience because, I'm coming at this whole thing from kind of just a musical background where it's and also I worked for some of the companies that were making like keyboard instrument synthesizers. So I understand a little bit of the manufacturer's head space.
Yeah.
So when it started, first of all, my whole journey into the Wisdom Music business started because of my interest in the new technology. Specifically, it was when the first iPhones came out, and I was sitting there kind of playing around with the
the iPhone 1. Yeah, I remember that.
Dreaming what was possible, much like I'm dreaming when I put on the VR headset and I'm thinking things here. So in those days, I was keeping my eye on the beginnings of the app store, right? The Apple App Store.
Yeah.
So and I found a really an interesting app. It was very simple, but I thought it was cool. And I reached out to the developer, and we started a conversation. This first developer happened to be very, very uniquely talented in that he could do everything, really. He was capable of doing the graphics. He was capable of doing all the coding. He knew about music, so he could do a lot of stuff. So it was a very, and this was my, this is my first business.
Yeah.
Building an app. So it was interesting because it was one guy. It's not the usual case.
Yeah.
Anyway, that year, the first year, we built an app called MorphWiz, which for me was a key app because it allowed me to really get into this idea I had of bringing audio and visual together. And so we created something that was very important to me creatively and also got things off the ground. And MorphWiz was a very successful app as well. What I learned after working with Kevin Chartier, who's the developer who was behind MorphWiz, was that not everybody is like him. Each relationship is going to be very, very different. So,
right.
And then over these years, since that's the case, I found key people. It's very common that someone will be very good at coding, right, but not great at the user interface or the user experience, and needs some kind of wireframes to be laid out for them. That's often the case, right? Somebody who's a programmer.
Right. They just, yeah.
Yeah, give me the wireframes, and I can start to build this. And now I need the graphics.
What are the wireframes, you say?
Right. So exactly. I was like, what is that? I didn't know any of this stuff. So the difference between the user interface and the user experience, and then finding somebody who is capable to do the graphics and putting the team together. So so since I became aware of that and have worked now with different kinds of people, very often what happens is it's a group of people. And what happens when it's a group of people like that, it means a lot of international discussions, which is interesting unto itself, because like you'll be in Chile, and then I'll have, Simone on the line from Italy, and I'll have my graphics guy on the line from France, and everybody is totally in the furthest most reaches on the planet, but we're all working together, and we find a way through Google or through Skype to communicate and get the job done.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear. Yeah, and the other thing is that some people, since we're different countries, some people they're starting the day, and some others they're ending their day. So you have like different opinions depending on the day, or and it's very entertaining, because for me at least, to have people from different countries, because it also reflects the culture that they live in, and you can just like it reflects on the product, it reflects on the conversation and the whole organization. So it's kind of cool.
The only thing is you have to be aware when you're building your relationships of, it's depending on who's where in the world. You have to be willing to stay up late at night or get up early in the morning,
right.
to have those, conversations. Because like for me, and for you as well, if you have somebody you're working with who's in Sydney, Australia, it's going to be tough to find a time. And then very often it'll be somebody in Italy, somebody in Australia, and somebody in New York, somebody in Chile, and then it's really one of the challenges.
Yeah, it's a tough challenge. I mentioned this in the previous Hangout we had with other speaker. We're going to be having someone from Spotify, which, as you may know, Spotify is coming. It was founded in Sweden, and they have people in New York and in San Francisco, which it has a enormous time zone difference, like 8 hours or something, and they have to manage like what's the best time to make decisions, like if it's early in the day, because if you miss the morning, then you miss a whole day of decisions. So we're going to be having that as well here. So following that same topic, which is very interesting in itself, I would like to ask you, do you see like something happening between the age of the person and the adoption of this kind of style of work? Like let's say like, for people that's between 20 and 30 years, it's easier because they have these phones and they're connected all the time. But for people that are, I don't know, like above 50 or 55, they seem to don't understand this new culture, this new way of working? How do you see that yourself?
I see, first of all, it's more than age. I think it's a state of mind and education.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's true that younger people in general have more of a knack for like technology. You've grown up with it. It's just part of who the young people are. And there needs to be more education probably for especially for somebody who's older that's not using it all the time and staying up with the advances. Right. Like even for myself, I'm kind of at this place where there's a part of me that is, wait, did I lose you? Hello, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
So there's a part of me that is kind of like day to day, I'm discovering new technology. But there's also a part of me that sometimes plays catch up. And part of that is because a lot of my life is spent, doing dream theater, which is a different life, and I'm not like always, doing cutting edge things online like every day. But I find a balance, and I know a lot of people who are whatever age, and they're just really great with technology, so there's no problem.
Yeah.
Depends on the person, obviously.
I agree. It's a state of mind. I mean, for people that have that same state, it's going to be easier and easier to adopt it. And so let's turn things back to you. Like, if I ask you before, like, what's the skill you look into a person? What's the skill that has for adopting this style of work? What's the skill that for you has been the hardest to learn, or the hardest to polish?
Well, in general, this kind of work has been an ongoing. Dealing with people who are in this kind of work has been an ongoing process for me, because I realize more and more what programming is all about, and how to work with people to remain focused and get things done. Because when I started this business, I really didn't know about that. And so I was flooded with ideas, like so many ideas. They were just all coming out, and I had lists, pages long of lists of all the stuff that I wanted to do. And if I look back, there's probably some really cool things on those notes. But ideas are only part of it. A programmer is a certain kind of a headspace. And you know that as well as anybody. You want to be very, very focused, and you want to know what you're going to be building and what you're setting out to do, and you don't want to have a lot of clutter in your head when you're going to do it, because it makes it impossible. So the ability for someone to work with somebody like me, with a programmer, to work with somebody who has a vision, to be able to, it goes both ways. For me to be able to focus in and say, okay, this is what I think we should build, and for the developer, the programmer, to say, okay, I understand what you're saying, and to be able to give constructive feedback and also kind of shape the plan is great. So I find some programmers are just too tight, not open-minded enough to allow somebody with a vision to come in, and they get thrown off very easily. Yeah. But the best person to work with is somebody who can listen to all the ideas and to give constructive feedback and to help to narrow it down to what they need to do. So there has to be some creative energy there as well in the process.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the most important skills when working like this, because it's very difficult sometimes when you don't have video, for example, like to read someone, like what's he's really trying to say. And sometimes you don't really read emotions, and it's very important that you listen, you listen, and then you organize, and then you are open to maybe modify the same product that you're doing. Because sometimes there are developers that they say, oh no, I have this in mind, I just want to do this, I'm not really open to other stuff. But right. This is in my opinion, a so important skill for people, not only developers, it can be designers and other people that can work in this style, to to listen and to be open to feedback from someone that's not in the same spot as you.
Right, exactly. It's very, very important. And also because everybody is so different. Like every programmer you work with, every creative person, every UI guy, every graphics guy, they're going to have a little bit more or less of what it takes to make a product.
Yeah.
a little bit more of the other guy's area. It's kind of like everybody crosses over to a certain point and understands. So that kind of like, oh, you know, you're flexible, you're finding a tuning.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, very cool. So this is my last question. We're about to end the 30 minutes we had set up. I'm also requesting if someone that's hearing us has some questions, and there's an app at the left part of the Hangout where you can do that, or just post it in the YouTube video. So I just want to know, like, what do you expect of the trip? I know that it's a long trip. Sorry about that, but what do you expect to find here? What do you expect? What people do you expect to find here? And like playing this very remote place in the world. We don't see it like remote because we live here, but we're really in a very remote spot here in Chile. And so what are your expectations? Can you tell me about that?
Well, when I think of Chile, I can't help but think about the first time I came there, and the whole town was very that was something that will stay with me probably my whole life. So I know there's a lot of really great fans there, fans of Dream Theater. So I'm kind of excited about bringing the technology side of what I do and the music side together. It's a great opportunity. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of Dream Theater fans around, especially for the concert and everything. And I'm sure they'll be mixed into the technology conference as well. So yeah, it's a great. It makes sense, like in the world where a place where I bring all that together to come to a kind of a hot spot for Dream Theater and for myself to do this. So, and I'm looking forward to meeting, the developers there and the young people who are getting into this and talking and sharing my experience. I just have a really, the closer we get to my making the trip, I have a better and better feeling about it. So.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be having a mix of people, as you say, where there's probably going to be Dream Theater fans that come for the gig, and some other Dream Theater fans that are into the technology side. That's going to be attending the event. I'm seeing this in the way that the tickets have been sold to people. They seem to be some Dream Theater fans, I can tell very easily. And there's other people that they're curious about this, about not only technology, but how this way of working is changing, and how talent is not only limited to a city or a spot, but it's just open to the whole world. So it's going to be a mix of attendees, and I think it's going to be, the conversations are going to be very interesting to have there. So yeah, I'll agree with you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap up with the conversation. I don't think there's too many people logged into the Hangout, so that's why I don't see any questions here. But if there are no questions, I'm sure they're going to be at the event next week. Okay. And I just want to thank you for your time. I really look forward for next week. It's going to be awesome having you here. Thanks for your time, for having this conversation. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. This was my first time as an interviewer, so I don't know how I did, but yeah, thanks for your time, and I'll see you next week here in Chile.
Very good, my friend. Okay, see you soon. Thanks for doing it. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bueno, gracias a todos por escuchar. Me acaba de llegar la pregunta, así que lo siento, se cae Jordan. De Raúl Ibarra. Creo que esto lo hemos hablado en el Facebook, o no sé dónde lo mencionamos, pero la idea del concierto es que va a haber un piano donde él va a tocar canciones solistas, y va a también tocar temas obviamente de Dream Theater y otras bandas, ¿no es cierto? Y entiendo que va a también traer su sintetizador, y va a estar con otros aparatos tecnológicos también ahí, así que es una mezcla entre un concierto acústico con un piano, pero también añadiéndole ¿no es cierto?, temas, covers que él tiene. Ojalá eso haya servido como respuesta. La idea es regalar los tickets, como les comenté. Hagámoslo de la misma forma que lo hicimos la vez anterior. Por favor, posteen su nombre y su correo, ya sea en el canal de YouTube que lo están viendo, en el video, o en el Hangouts, o en la página del evento. Voy a estar revisando las tres partes y como les comenté también la semana pasada, la idea es elegir 2 tickets y van a saber si son ganadores, tanto si ganan o no ganan. ¿Les parece? Así que, repito, para el sorteo de las 2 entradas, postear el nombre y el correo electrónico, ya sea en el YouTube donde lo están viendo, o en el Hangouts, o en la página del evento. Voy a recopilar eso y después hacemos el sorteo y enviamos un correo, tanto si se ganó o no se ganó. ¿Ya? Así que eso, bueno, dependiendo del tiempo, probablemente podamos tener un siguiente Hangout la otra semana. La otra semana es el evento, así que vamos a ver ahí cómo estamos con la disponibilidad de los speakers, o si no, podemos hacer uno del equipo como para conversar y recibir preguntas y que la gente también pueda opinar sobre qué espera el evento, o podemos igual, ¿no es cierto?, conversar sobre lo que se puede hacer acá en Valdivia y todas esas cosas. Así que eso. Gracias por la asistencia y nada, nos vemos en 9.5 la otra semana. ¿Ya? Chao.